Welcome back to part 2 of my 4-part series with Cami Baker Miller, and we are discussing awakening the radiance within. In the first series, Cami shared about her cancer journey, and we discussed about listening, leaning in, the lesson L in the Creative Grief Freedom Formula. Today, we are going to be discussing Today we're going to be discussing the art of radiant expression. And the whole theme of this section is healing through color, creativity, and divine embodiment. You know, really honing into that divine feminine. Cami has a lot of cards like I do, so we're going to do a special card reading and talk about that. And then we have a project to do together that we're going to share with you. We did it. It was so much fun. It turned out better than I could have ever imagined. And it's something simple that you can do to be creative and express yourself and have a piece of natural art to look at as long as you desire to keep it. Cami has a unique writing style. I love the style of her apartment. She has arts all over the house, and you can just feel the energy with these pieces. This is one of them behind us. I want you to talk about why your art practice, your creative practice, is so essential for your healing and your journey.
Like we were talking about earlier, when I was going through my treatment, I came back to abstract art. I started painting again, and I started doing it on a large scale. I wanted big canvases because I intuitively knew I had some big energy to move around, some big emotions to unstick. I ended up taking those canvases, I would write all over them, I'd treat them like a journal, and then I would cover up the words or incorporate them into the art. I would turn the pieces around all crazy. I would just play with them and write on them and express, let the emotions express through me until I felt like it was done. I never knew what it would end up looking like. Mm-hmm. And it's just one of it was a way at the time for me to be able to transmute some energy that I otherwise, even with writing, couldn't seem to.
I love that. Yeah. And that's what we talk about. Like, I love therapy. I've done therapy. I've done EMDR, as we talked about. I did the NLP, which I found very therapeutic. But when you are engaged in the process of a creative practice such as art or making something with your hands, it could be baking. I don't know. People like to bake. I like to bake. But it's something that helps you put action behind the creative meditative process. Today, in addition to the special card reading about the divine feminine, we created a mandala. It was so therapeutic. It was so much fun. It was better than I had anticipated, and we just used a few simple things from around the yard.
It smelled so good while we were creating it.
Yeah, so we're going to share that with you, and I really invite you to share what you make with me. You can either email me or post a video on the thread, but I have a Facebook group called Catch Some Soul Shine that you can go in and share your Mandela art projects. There's power in claiming your divine feminine energy. I had to work on that. How do you explain it? How do you harness that? And so there's tools that you can use to help you do that. Cami has tons of card decks, but this one is called the Divine Feminine. We're going to pull a card from that deck today and discuss it. I'll pull the card.
Let me shuffle real quick. It's the Divine Feminine Oracle by Megan Watterson. She's brilliant. She also wrote the Mary Magdalene book that I love, and I can't think of the name.
Okay. I always close my eyes when I'm picking a card. I don't know why. I just do. All right. So the card I got today is Anana, which is the Queen of Heaven and Earth. I have nothing to hide. I see and accept all that I am. I'll let you take a look at her. And then we're going to read what the interpretation of the author has for that card, and then we're going to talk about our interpretation.
All right. I don't have glasses over here. Let's see if I can read it. You want me to read it? Oh, I can read it. Again, the Queen of Heaven and Earth, I have nothing to hide. I see and accept all that I am. Who she is. Anana represents the power that comes back to us when we accept and integrate our shadow. She was the most prominent female deity in ancient Mesopotamia at the height of her worship around the period of 4000 to 2000 BCE. Temples and shrines dedicated to Anana lined the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Her name is Sumerian for Lady of Heaven. Her temple housed her priestesses, and they each would take a man to bed with them on the spring equinox to reenact the divine marriage, or hieros gamos, between Anana and her consort Dumuzi. The hieros gamos is an ancient ritual of uniting the opposites from within, the male and the female, the light and the dark, and most especially heaven and earth. This theme occurs in accounts of Anana's descent into the underworld. She must take off an article of clothing at each of the 7 gates so that when she finally reaches her sister, she is naked. And when Anana ascends, she does so with Eresh Kagal's power. When your soul selects her card, Anana goes into the depths of her own unconscious to merge with her twin sister self. She becomes more powerful because she is no longer using conscious psychic energy to keep her shadow or negative attributes hidden deep underground. She courageously descends and faces the aspects of herself that are hard to get to when she's fully dressed or cloaked in heavily cloaked in the ego. Anana is an invitation to get naked. She wants us to drop our defenses. She wants us to see how holy and sacred it is to be vulnerable. As above, so below. This is an alchemical adage that suggests heaven and earth are not so separate. It suggests that within us, deep down in the dark cages where we place parts of ourselves, the truths that exist there also exist right here on the surface of our everyday lives. So if we are exerting great amounts of energy to keep from seeing our shadow, it is actually playing a large role in our conscious life. When we can face what we think is dark or negative about us, really embrace it and see for what it is, a beautiful broken place that's a call for love, then we can emerge more whole. We can marry the light and dark aspects of our being, and in uniting with our twin sister from the depths, we can stop projecting her onto other women. We can see and own the hot mess we often are and not get sabotaged by it. The light must cast a shadow, and the high priestess is the one who gets called to love them both. The meditation is, can I love my shadow as much as my light? This was perfect.
Yes.
Because the light and the dark, the masculine and the feminine, we have both.
Right.
It's a duality every human being possesses, both masculine and feminine, and the shadow and the light. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
We often turn away from that. We put our masks on. Sometimes I think that's how I see creativity, being able to take that mask off, even for just a little while, and
fully express yourself.
This is who I am.
Yeah, I love that. How ironic we're talking about the light and the dark, because that's what this is all about. You cannot have light without darkness. There's duality, there's opposites, there's contrast, and that's what makes life so beautiful. What stood out to me about that particular card is the fact that we all put these cloaks on. We put these barriers on, we put faces on. When I'm sad, I don't want people to know it. I don't want to show my emotions. We watched a movie the other night, and I know you felt bad. You're like, oh God, I'm sorry I picked this movie, but I just sobbed. I couldn't help it. After the movie, I went and rested. I watched another movie to lighten up my mood, but I was able to feel those emotions deeply. And the next day was the most wonderful, peaceful, beautiful, relaxing day. I think it's really important that we recognize what darkness is inside of us and then embrace it so that we can shine brightly and see the light.
I don't ever stifle my tears anymore. It feels so good to cry and get that out. I always feel better afterward.
That nakedness, in the reading, it was talking about, she's just fully naked. And that's when you release any barrier holding you back from being your true, authentic, beautiful self.
No masks. You got to
Right.
get rid of the masks.
Like, if I'm sad, I'm going to be sad. If I'm happy, I'm going to be happy. And that is important when you're talking about grief, because sometimes when you see somebody that has had this tremendous grief impact and you see them happy and glowing, you think, well, wow, they're doing great. But it's a contrast, right? You can hold deep grief or sadness and joy.
Time.
But what these lessons teach us is to practice little joyful practices. So today we went out and we did that mandala. And we gathered our little things together, and then she came in and got some different items, and we constructed this gorgeous mandala. And you know what that says to me is, I could say things like Georgia O'Keeffe said. I could say things with color and shapes that I couldn't say any other way. And when I look at that mandala, that's what I feel. I feel connected to something bigger than me, you know, this spiritual being, like we're all part of something bigger. And I don't know what that meant to you, but I just felt a profound sense of accomplishment and joy just doing that simple little exercise.
I just felt very grounded.
Yeah.
It really soothed.
Yeah.
I wasn't in a particularly excited state, but it did ground me even more. I really enjoyed it.
All right, so I am going to share our mandala with you in this next segment. I really want you to participate and do your own, because you can't feel these lessons, you can't integrate them into yourself without doing. And that's what my whole grief creative formula, freedom formula is all about. It's about integrating the lessons, doing them, practicing them in a community that's safe. If you think you would benefit, go down into the show notes and I'll send you a link so you can get another lesson from me and find out what I have to offer. And next week, don't forget to come back, because we are going to be talking about unleashing the inner goddess. And we all have an inner goddess, right? All right, here's that next segment. As promised in season 4, we're going to add little projects, and today we're going to make a mandala. So we're going to head out into the yard and grab some natural elements to make a mandala, and it's going to be so fun. Can't work with her. All right, I just happen to be staying in this beautiful, luscious lawn, so we're just going to gather some different elements for our mandala, like these leaves would be cool. Want to snip those? Oh, how about some ivy? Get a couple of those. Okay. Just a couple little stones. Some?
How about the green one?
Yeah, I like that. There's 2 green ones. Well, a mandala is a circular shape, and we're going to put it together. And I have the advantage of working with Cami, so we get both of our ideas. Using natural elements to create an expressive piece of art is just one example from the Creative Grief Freedom Formula. Cami and I had so much fun, and if this is something you'd like to try, please click on the link in the show notes, because I would love to give you a free lesson. And as always, like and share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next week on Catch Some Soul Shine.